Hi, I'm Catherine Bruton, author of Another Twist in the Tale. It's a sequel to Charles Dickens' Oliver Twist, set in Victorian London and featuring Oliver's long-lost sister. You might have heard the tale of Oliver Twist, the boy who heard from more, but what few people know is that there was another twist, a girl born just seconds before her brother. This is the tale of Twill Twist. She is abandoned as an orphaned baby in the snow and found by a young kitchen maid by the name of Baggage Jones, who takes her back to the Blackjack gaming hell, where Twill is brought up, surrounded by the beautiful butterfly girls and under the auspices of the terrifying Madame Manzoni. And what she learns is that a girl has to fight to survive in Victorian London. When she finds herself cast adrift and destitute in London, she encounters a young man by the name of Jack Dawkins, also known as the Artful Dodger to his friends, who, after almost getting Twill arrested, introduces her to the Sassy sisters of Saffron Hill, an all-girl band of pickpockets who answer to no man and who take Twill under their wing. But something is rotten in the streets of London. Children keep disappearing, and Twill and Dodger team up to try and solve the mystery, which seems to involve Oliver's guardian, a mysterious poisoner known only as Mrs. C, and a shadowy figure with a all too familiar red beard. It feels like the only person who can solve the mystery and save the day is Oliver Twist, but Oliver is nowhere to be found. So if only there was another Twist who could save the day with a little bit of help from the Sassy sisters and Baggage Jones, the butterfly girls, because after all, anything boys can do, girls can do better, right? This is a rip-roaring adventure, which I hope will keep you reading late at night, desperate to find out what happens more until the final thrilling twist in the tale. Because the thing about Dickens, what people maybe don't realise is that when he wrote his novels, he didn't write them as novels. He published them as weekly chapters in a newspaper. So it meant that his readers he had to leave them on a cliffhanger, so that they'd be desperate to buy the next week's edition and find out what happens next. So that's really what I tried to do in here, is I tried to use this idea that you, at the end of every episode, there's another twist in the tale and you're desperate to find out what happens next. And that was great fun about writing it. The other thing that I love about Dickens, and lots of people don't know, is that his stories, he also wrote stories to open his readers' eyes to the reality of life in Victorian London. That beneath the top hats and the parasols and the corsets and the frock coats, there were also terrible levels of child poverty, street children. There were children working in factories like sweatshops nowadays, really shocking, horrible conditions. And Dickens knew about this firsthand, because when he was 12 years old, his father was arrested and thrown into a debtor's prison. And the 12-year-old Charles Dickens was forced to work in a rat-infested sweatshop, a blacking factory, where he worked 12 hours a day to try and keep his mum and his sisters from the workhouse. And he never spoke about this till the day that he died. People didn't know about it, but in many of his stories, like in Oliver Twist and Bleak House and Christmas Carol, you can see that his experiences have shaped the kind of writer that he became, somebody who did want to open readers' eyes to these shocking realities of the world. And I remember finding out about this when I was about 17, and I think it had a really profound effect on me as a writer. You'll know some of my other novels, I try to write about some current issues that are quite difficult issues to make young readers think about. Some of the more difficult things that go on in our world. I've written No Ballet Shoes in Syria, which is about a young Syrian refugee, for example. And in this story, was actually inspired by my experiences working with South African street children in a South African orphanage many years ago. Because the truth is that although this is set in Victorian London, some of the shocking things that are happening to the children in Victorian London and that feature in this novel are still going on around the world today. And just maybe that might give readers pause for thought as well. But the thing I love most about Dickens is his characters. I love those amazing names like Ebenezer Scrooge and Fagin, Mr. Jaggers, Pip Pirrip and Mr. Wopsle. Names that are as kind of weird and wonderful and grotesque and funny and absurd and moving and sad as Dickens' amazing cast of characters himself. So for me, the great privilege was being able to write a story that used some of Dickens' characters and introduce them. So I've got Fagin and the Artful Dodger and even Oliver Twist himself, but also I could create a host of amazing Dickensian characters of my own, which was great fun to do. And this idea actually came from working in, I'm a teacher. When I'm not writing books. And I run a creative writing club at school, and we did a project one term when we tried to write unheard voices. We took our favourite stories and our favourite books and we told the stories of characters on the margins, maybe minor characters you don't normally hear of, but who are screaming for their stories to be heard. My students wrote amazing stories about things like Dracula's mum and Hermione Granger's baby brother. And if this is, it was great fun. If this is something you'd like to do, then if you check out the Nosy Crow website, there's an amazing resource on there. Lots of resources to do with teaching this, but there's some creative writing resources as well. One of which is about creating your own spin-off tale. And another one actually is about creating Dickensian characters, which you might want to have a go at. As I say, the greatest fun was creating my own ridiculous characters with amazing names like Mrs. Spanks and her spoon and Baggage Jones. And for me, my favourite bit in the book is where my character gets to meet one of Dickens' characters. So this is the bit I'm going to read you now. And this is a moment when Twill has seen a pickpocket stealing a young lady's reticule. She gives chase to try and chase down the top-hatted thief. But just as they're just about to be caught, he turns around, shoves the purse, the stolen property, into her hands, and then disappears, leaving her with the policeman hot on her tail, just about to catch her. And just as she's about to be caught, she is suddenly grabbed and rescued just in the nick of time. But by who? You, declared Twill. The young gentleman before her took a low bow and then looked up with eyes that were full of rather world-weary mischief. Jack Dawkins, miss, at your service. Some call me John or Master Dawkins, but generally I'm known as the Artful Dodger. All dodge to me friends, and I do believe we is going to be good friends, my good woman. I am not your good woman, said Twill, with her hands on her hips and her eyes ablaze with indignation. And I would never be friends with such as you. You nearly had me arrested. Now you give me that reticule so I can clear my name. What, this? Said the Artful. He was a little older than he had been when he'd first encountered Twill's brother all those years ago. A little bit wiser too. A lad of 15, maybe 16. He'd never known his birthday, no more than he had his long ago parents. And he was taller now. But the artful dodgery was in the flesh, and he dangled that reticule before Twill, who made a swipe for it, but missed. Despite the passing of the years, the dodger was as quick as in the days of Fagin's gang, and more wary with it. Oh, you're a quick un, I'll grant you, said Master Dawkins. There's not many can outpace the artful dodger. Shame you's not so bright in the upstairs department. He tapped his forehead and raised an eyebrow in a way that made Twill's blood boil. Give it here, said Twill, making another swipe for the reticule. I need to return it. What do you think will happen if you does, said Dodger. You'll turn up at that grand house clutching a stolen purse, seeking a reward, will you? The traps'll have you clapped in irons and transported to the colonies, and that's if they don't let you swing. Twill paused for a second. Well, I'll tell him it wasn't me. The Dodger just laughed. You're a green and a no mistake. Wouldn't have thought it, 'cause you got a good pair of legs on you, though your knowledge of the area ain't what it needs to be for this line of work. You was lucky I was there to rescue you. Rescue me? Of all the nerve! You're the reason I'm in so much trouble. My great hope is that readers who read Another Twist in the Tale and encounter my characters like Twill and Baggage Jones and Madame Manzoni, they might introduce them to some of Dickens' amazing characters, and that this might be the beginning of a reading journey that introduces you to some of Dickens' amazing stories, because it has been so much fun and a complete privilege to follow in Charles Dickens' footsteps and deliver one final twist in the tale.